So really, and probably a lot of you have seen versions of this content cycle. So I'm just going to talk through to it in terms of relationship building. First of all, you need to find out, who your customers are, and in fact, when you start off with that, you probably know a lot of it about them already. You have data that you can analyze, whether it's marketing data, whether it's sales data, etc. You have data from your website. So all this data is really valuable in understanding who your customers are. So what age group are they? What are they interested in? Are they on Facebook or are they on LinkedIn? What type of conversations do they participate in? And that helps me learn a lot about my audience and gain insight. And the insight is that, for example, can be that actually my customers are not on Facebook. They're sharing most of their knowledge on LinkedIn, or can be the other way around. So now it comes to you're actually now equipped to plan your content strategy, because you can now think about, hey, how do I reach these people on this platform? What type of content really talks to these people? And then create that content. And creation, just to be just a little side step, because creation seems to be for other people a major headache. When we talk to a lot of brands, what we find is actually that there's a lot of content already there, and there's a lot of expertise within brands. So there are in-house experts, there are business partners who have content or can produce content. So creating content actually can be relatively much easier than a lot of people think to start with. So you should always think about a mixed content creation strategy where you create content yourself in-house, but you also have outside contributors. And then it comes to amplification, the thing that we are talking about here now. And so here are a few things that we look at when we want to do amplification. If you only have one amplification strategy, you're definitely doing something wrong. So you always have to have multiple channels of reaching out to your audience. Search is obviously still important, so you've got to be on top of your SEO strategy. But social platforms and also live conversations are something that you as a brand need to participate in. And the third point that really goes with social platforms and conversation is collaboration with influencers, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute in a bit more detail. It is just really a shortcut of reaching your audience, because there are already people out there who have an audience and to which you can speak to. The native and contextual advertising is a really growing part of what we do and how we amplify content. 20% of digital marketing spend in the UK now goes on to native and contextual advertising. And this is good because you are reaching your audience when they're in reading mode, when they're already consuming content, and when they are consuming content that is relevant to your brand. So I already talked about, like, you really need to look at the channels of engagement, and they really depend on who you're talking to. This is just actually a US example of different age groups and different social groups and how much time they spend on each platform. That's a start for you to understand actually where you can use your efforts in the most effective way. So you need to find out the content that works, and this just a few practical things. I mean, this is something that we're using is BuzzSumo. There are lots of other tools out there that you can use to find out what content is actually really successful out there, and on what platform is it successful. You know, how many shares does this type of content get on Facebook? How many shares does it get on LinkedIn? And this really gives you a good idea and a good starting point on understanding what content works. And generally, you know, our content checklist is relatively simple, and it really reinforces all the points I made about authenticity. You know, it's got to be valuable. And being cute and having cute pictures of cats is nice, but being valuable is the first step in building a trusted relationship. And you've got to be useful. So content that's useful will be important to your customer. If it's important, it will reinforce your brand without any annoying side effects. It's got to be contextual, so catch the people when they are actually in reading mode. And it's got to be easy to consume. So why make it difficult? You know, you remove the barriers and think about the right format, the right length of content. And it's got to be well designed. So you know, image-led content, for example, is something that's always more likely to be successful than just text content. So you need to spend a lot of time and effort also on the design of your content packages. It's got to be device agnostic for obvious reasons. It's got to be shareable, findable. It's going to be non-intrusive, because we are building a relationship here. We are building a relationship on mutual respect. So really, we need to adhere to those rules and build trust and authority. Okay. So also find out who is good at sharing content. So this is a bit about the influencers. So again, there are tools out there that can tell you who's actually really good at talking about the subjects that you want to talk about, and who's getting, you know, the most retweets, the most questions answered, questions asked on Twitter, Facebook, etc. And these are the people that you need to work with. These are the people that you need to collaborate with. And so how can that look like? This can take, I think, many manifestations. I mean, the one thing that we're doing on a regular basis is we are actually involving these influencers in creating our own content. And this is a really smart strategy, because you're giving them something back, but you're also allow them to use your brand as a platform, and what they invariably do is they start retweeting what you're saying. They start keeping a conversation with you and your brand, and this is all amplification for free, right? So now you build that relationship with influencers. You copy what works, and you always have to keep in mind you won't get it right at the first time. It's really important to keep on experimenting, learning, and applying what you've learned. Okay, I'm just so a bit wary of time. I want to show you one showcase. Let me just double check. I think we've got time for that. So the one example I'd like to show you guys, just to illustrate what I've been talking about, is American Express. So American Express have been in the content marketing for a very long time, and it manifested itself years ago in the form of events. So they used to invite Richard Branson, Seth Godin, and talk about entrepreneurship, talk about the future of digital, etc., etc. And they found that this was very, very successful. The idea of sharing knowledge was something that people were hungry for, that young business owners in the US were hungry for. But they found that you can only fill so many. You can only put so many people in venues. You can only have so many events around the country. So they launched a website, seemed to be an obvious thing, and the website did actually quite well. They started to grow a community where people could share advice. They commissioned some content, and it did quite well. But the real game changer came a couple of years ago when they formed a partnership with LinkedIn. And what they did is they really removed all the barriers of joining that community. So I could now just log in with my LinkedIn account and join the MX Open Forum community. And what I got, it was a completely personalized view, on the subjects I was interested in. I could ask questions to people. I could communicate with peers, but also had access to really exclusive content from experts around the world. So what happened by opening up and removing those barriers was quite dramatic. MX Open Forum now has 2 million unique users, which is 10% of their target market in the US. They publish 10 to 15 pieces a day. They recruited more users in the first 5 weeks once they introduced the LinkedIn login than in the previous 5 years. So it was an absolute dramatic effect on the way that they communicated with their customers. Their customers now instantly got a personalized view of what MX Open Forum was. And the native ad format that they used on this platform outperformed conventional media by more than 10 times. So, and again, this proves the whole, I think, concept of being relevant and being contextual. So I just want to conclude with something that I always like to share about my company. So we practice what we preach, and this, in my view, should always be the starting point of any successful content marketing strategy. It's to decide who you are and who you aspire to be to. We human beings always aspire to be something, and that usually dictates our futures and the where we go, what we do, who we are, and brands and companies are exactly the same. There's absolutely no difference between the two. And this, so we sat down and said, like, who are we actually? And this is what sort of came out of it. So we always want to ensure that our customers enjoy a profitable relationship with our brand. So now I think this is, we very strongly believe this is the future of running successful business in the 21st century. And this is why content marketing has become such an amazing tool for us and for many other brands who've decided to do the same. We always want to think bigger. We always want to challenge ourselves because we want to be better at what we're doing. We never fall in love with plan A because it's always like a great idea, but 90% of the time it doesn't work, which is fine. So you need to constantly visit plan B, C, D, E, etc. If something is easy, somewhere else is probably already doing it. So you have got to ask yourself: is there really a point in doing it if it's too easy? Sometimes it can be. Focus on the areas with most impact. So really don't waste your energy on resources on shiny things or stuff that's just fun. Always focus on achieving the highest impact with the lowest possible investment. Enjoy the challenge. So sometimes we can get really stressed out, but in those moments you really have to remind yourself that we're getting stronger and better at what we do, and we're learning lots of things. So the other point is really important: have the discipline. So because we're learning lots of things, we need to be very disciplined in applying what we've learned, because humans are by their very nature quite lazy. But if we don't apply what we learn, we've really wasted our time. And the last one, I find it's really important, applicable to everyone. Ignore the people who give you negative energy. So having arguments about negative things is just draining your energy. So stop doing it. That's what we decide to, and that's me. I think we've got some time for questions. Yeah, so the question was, what do I think about Taboola and Outbrain as a amplification tool? So I haven't mentioned them explicitly, but I think they're really valuable, and we actually use them on a regular basis. And the reason I like them is that it really puts your content into context and also hits your audience when they are in reading mode. So it's one of those really good examples where you can do really well. The thing I think to remember is that those platforms are very much about experimenting and failing and doing better. So you will never get it right at in the first instance, and usually it takes around like 3 to 4 months to really hit the sweet spot with those platforms. But we work with them on a regular basis. We actually have a partnership with Outbrain, so it's a very good platform. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show.